Imagine survival in one of the poorest cities in the world, a mass of humanity, thousands living in the streets, people worshiping cows next to 21st century technology, a culture where women are also often considered a burden or even property. Mrs. B. Benjamin, a widow from Calcutta, India, heard as the Gideons came into her church to share about what God was doing as His word was placed there in her land, how people were hearing about Jesus and coming to Christ. They received an offering that day, but a widow in Calcutta, Mrs. Benjamin, had nothing to give. She continued to think about what that she had heard, and she was burdened through that. So she began the habit of praying every single day for this ministry. God bless the Gideons. Lord, bring your word to this land. Having nothing else to give, as she was praying one day, God did in her spirit to fashion a little clay bank. The little clay bank that I hold in my hand. And Mrs. Benjamin began the habit of placing every spare rupee that she could come up with. A rupee is the Indian currency. It takes about 62 rupees to make $1 US. Nothing to you and I, but everything to Mrs. Benjamin. As she deposited those coins in that little bank, she would pray for the Gideons. And at the end of 1 year, she presented this bank of coins, and it contained, at that time, 403 1/2 rupees, enough to purchase about 1.5 copies of the Word of God. The gift that Mrs. Benjamin gave represents something very precious. It came at a very great cost. To me, it represents the trust that believers around the world have placed in you and I, that we will take the funds and we will take the scriptures and we will go out into the highways and hedges. Never take lightly the call that God has placed on your life. Never take lightly the sacrifice that believers around the world willingly offer to support the ministry of the Gideons International. Never take lightly the privilege and the responsibility we have to share the gospel. The same Jesus that gave His life for me and for you has given His life for a world that is harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd, waiting to receive Him.